All right, welcome to Scouching Live. It is February 13th. AJ, sing it with me. Oh, Canada, the tournament's over. It's done.
No,
Canada may as well just take it and go home.
the
Game
wrong
over.
Leafs. The wrong Leafs scored in overtime. I'm afraid.
Yes. Anyway, good afternoon. It is, of course, mid-February. It is just before Family Day weekend here in Canada, and we are walking in a winter wonderland here
hmm
in Southern Ontario because holy smokes, we got about 20 centimeters of snow overnight real fast and shoveling it. Both of us had our own experiences shoveling it this morning. It was a bit of a
Yep.
nightmare. Um, and for all of you Americans, we maybe got about 6 or 7 inches, something like that. So for your freedom units, there you go. But anyway, and we're supposed to get another dump over the weekend. So that's going to be awesome. Definitely going to be going outside plenty over the weekend for sure.
I
Definitely.
hate going outside.
Yeah, it's overrated, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Touch
Yeah.
grass? No, I would rather touch my
Yeah,
keyboard.
no. Yeah, just touch the keyboard and go on your message boards and 4chan it up. That's the way to be.
Whoa, whoa, hey now, hey now, hey
That's
now.
the healthiest lifestyle.
No, it is not.
Oh right, you're playing you're playing Europa Universalis. That's what you're
Yes,
doing.
yes.
You're living in a fantasy world 600 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Got it. I can't say I'm doing much better. So, yeah. Well,
Civ
anyway,
7 enjoyer.
yes, I am one of the I'm apparently one of the few. So, I'll take it. But anyway, we got a wonderful show today. We got a lot going on. There's a lot happening in the world of hockey. Obviously, we're going to talk about Craig Button's NHL affiliated prospect lists or list. Of course, we are going to take any and all of your questions, largely down the back half of the show.
Except if a hot dog is a sandwich, we will not be answering that.
No, we're not answering that question. That's not going to happen. We're going to talk about, we saw Scott Wheeler's rankings most recently dropped. We're going to try to get him on the show. I've messaged him. We're going to try to get him on next week today, if not sometime soon. And we'll have another little discussion with him going back and forth. I'll send him my guys and he'll probably look at them and go, you're a moron. And then we'll be calling each other morons for 2 hours. It's going to be great. Also, what else is going on? We got 2 video rooms this week. They just came
Mm-hmm.
out and doing quite well. Quentin Musty and Igor Chernyshov. Very, very interesting couple of videos. So when we're done here, go watch those because they're a lot of fun and Sharks fans seem to be eating them up, right? Because they're Sharks and
Wow, funny joke.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So good.
That's what we're here. That's what you're here for. That's what I need mentally. That's my needs. Anyway, yeah, and we're gonna obviously talk Four Nations face off. I mean, look at the sweater I'm wearing. You know, it's my number 16. You said it's for Mitch Marner. You
I
know,
knew
people are gonna
no.
think I'm a Marner fanboy.
I knew I know who,
Man,
yeah, you are, but I know it
I
says
love
Scouch
Marner.
on the back.
Yeah, it does. Yep. I bought
Because you're
myself this
you're
jersey as a
you're one of those
commemorative.
lame people who put your own name on the back.
It's not even my real name.
I know it's not
So
your real name.
it's a business expense. If that's what this was. It was a business expense. It's
You
advertising.
use that term as loosely as Rayanne loosely uses that term.
Well, when you own a business one day and you are trying to minimize your taxable income just like everybody else, you're going to find ways to do the same thing. It's just the way she goes.
The family business for us already has an accountant, so that already takes care of itself.
Well, that won't last forever.
Nope, it won't.
All right. Anyway, well, welcome to the show. We're gonna also, yeah, we got a lot going on. It's gonna be a fun one. I do want to start because we're the only show that's covering it. If you are not paying attention, and I know AJ is gonna shoot me for doing this, but if you're not paying attention to the Asia Winter Games, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. What a heck of a couple of games they just had to decide who goes to the gold and bronze medal games. I mean, last week we talked about the brawl between Turkmenistan and Hong Kong. There's another angle that I saw just before the show of a Turkmenistan player just clocking a guy in the face with his cage undone, and it was insane. But in actual hockey, the first thing, Kazakhstan beat China 3-1, so it's hosted in China. The crowd was bumping, things were crazy. It was 2-1 pretty late in the game. Kazakhstan dumps the puck. the Chinese goaltender calls for an icing, and in doing so, puts himself out of position and gives up a goal. And I'm going to post a link in the chat so anyone else can watch it if they want. I have never seen that happen before in my life, where a goaltender calls for an icing on the ice and the puck just bounces right by him and goes in the net from the opposing blue line. Wild stuff. And then South Korea played Japan, went to a shootout, and the winning goal in the shootout that ended up winning, scored by Kento Suzuki. He pulled a Kucherov in the Asia Winter Games against the South Korean goaltender, the Republic of Korea. So we've got a Kazakhstan-Japan gold medal game. My boys from Thailand came 6th in that tournament after a 15-2 loss to Japan in the quarterfinals. So, but 6th place is better than whatever it was. There were 14 teams, and they definitely did better than Bahrain did. I'll tell you what. But anyway, enough about that. We and anyway, Kento Suzuki, 30 years old, future NHL superstar. Nikita Kucherov who. But anyway, let's get into the actual show, because people only have a limited audience for the things that only I like.
Yeah, we only care about our country here, Will.
Yeah, true. That's true. I mean, I'm not wearing a Japan jersey, right? And I'm not Japanese, so what do I care? But anyway. Okay, Four Nations Face-Off got underway. Let's talk about it. Let's do this, because I watched almost all of the game last night. I missed the entire Swedish comeback. So you might need to fill me in on what happened, because I did not see it. I just saw Canada basically dominating the first half of the game, and Sweden found a way to claw their way back. Did you happen to catch that? Because I'm curious as to your read on what the heck happened there.
Colton Parayko is bad. That is my read on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Icing, where he doesn't need to dump the puck at all, and then just decides, I'm going to take the guy with the puck instead of the guy without it after a face-off. And then where does it go? To the guy who he's left open. Why did he get picked? Why did he get picked?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. Who would you put on the team instead of him?
You can,
and I'm just asking. Like, I don't know.
Here's the thing. It's like, as much as I would have done Dobson, but he's hurt, so that hurts my answer. And I don't want to put Evan Bouchard on this team, because I gotta make sure Rayanne is very mad.
Graphic designer, yeah.
Right? So
yep. Poor kid.
I would have Dougie Hamilton. I know Dougie Hamilton's not good defensively either, but at least he provides some offense. Yes, Colton Parayko got an assist. Whatever. It was a secondary assist. He's just not very good. All right? I don't like the way he plays. So I feel like he was a big part of it.
Mackenzie Weegar, maybe.
Yes, Mackenzie Weegar. That's the best. That's if we're going for a defensive guy, Mackenzie Weegar. That's the one. That's a good answer.
I've always had a soft spot for Travis Sanheim.
He's there, but I was thinking right. I'm thinking right hand.
Yeah, true.
So that's where my mind went as well. And Weegar's a right hand, but he plays on the left. Weirdly enough.
Right, but left anyway. But yeah, Shea Theodore, I just saw a comment that he left the game injured and he's week to week. So
Travis Sanheim time, baby.
The things that teams are always afraid of with guys going away for tournaments like this has happened in the first game. And Shea Theodore is week to week, so who knows how long he'll be out. But anyway.
I think you buried the lead, though.
Yeah.
Sidney Crosby, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, he is just the best.
Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon were just disgusting. Disgusting.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating, especially because we're a draft show. Like, I've said over the last few shows that a guy like Michael Misa, in a way, reminds me of a lot of what Sidney Crosby brings to the game. Not obviously saying they're the same player, but you watch Sidney Crosby and you just go, there is nothing he kind of doesn't do really well. He just constantly is moving play in the right direction, marching play up the ice. He can carry it himself. He can pass it. He can shoot. He's, got some strength on him as well. He's a determined guy. And he's almost, what is he, 37 years old or something like that? He's 1987. So he's going to be 37 if he isn't already. So like the fact that he's capable of this kind of thing at this age is mind-blowing to me. Like he was great last night. I mean, that top unit was really, really good. It was Marner, Crosby, and McKinnon. No,
McDavid and Marner played together with Reinhardt.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to remember. I can't
and
remember the lines off the
McKinnon
top
played
of my head.
with Crosby.
Yeah.
Trying to remember who else was there, but I know there
Regardless,
I think it was Stone.
sick.
I think it was Mark Stone who played.
Oh yeah. It was Mark Stone. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Still gross. Regardless, Connor McDavid. We were actually watching the game last night. I think the first period and a half or so together, and we both were just sitting there being like, Connor McDavid is a freak. Like what a
no. We made very suggestive noises because we were just so in awe. Oh, Connor McDavid. Yeah. Oh, that's literally the noise I made, and I'm sorry for all those who had to hear that, but Connor McDavid does something different to me. I'm literally in hockey, okay, in hockey.
Literally takes your breath away how good he is. Like it's like I don't know. I just like greatest of all time type.
But then
like,
Sidney Crosby also was,
and then Sidney Crosby's there. Yeah, like.
It's awesome. You know what this game said to me, or what I came away with from this game? I don't care anymore. I don't care who the greatest is. Can we just appreciate these players for how awesome they are?
I'm with you. Like, I think it's such a great advertisement for how awesome this sport is, and also it's like how has the NHL not been able to find a way to send these players to international tournaments to play against each other? Like. And there's great players who aren't even here. Like there are so many other guys that just don't even get the opportunity to play here. And I mean, I know they announced a World Cup for 2028, but man, like you've got the Winter Olympics coming up in 2026, right? Is it winter? I think it is. Yeah, 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. I know Gary Bettman has been like, well, the arena's maybe not going to be done in time, and but I don't know. It's like, I don't think you can wait 3 years to do this again, man. Like, I want to see some NHL guys. I want to see Leon Draisaitl in this tournament, and I want to see all
David
of
Pastrnak,
and like. I don't want to wait until 2028 when Pastrnak will be like over 30, McDavid will be in 2028. Connor McDavid will be like over 30 as well. Like I feel like it's a crime that Connor McDavid, if the NHL has its way, puts on a Canadian jersey in a best on best tournament that isn't the World Championships 2 times in the prime of his career. Like that to me seems completely insane. But nonetheless, great game last night. It was a lot of fun. I thought Sweden kind of found their legs a little bit as the game went on. Like Canada just kind of was all over them. I don't know if it's like a boost from the crowd or what.
Why is William Nylander playing with Mika Zibanejad and Rickard Rakell?
Oh my god.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh my god.
Why are you handicapping yourself?
Talk about
I don't hate Rickard Rakell. I like Rickard Rakell. But not on my first line. Not on my first line when you have a perfectly good Lucas Raymond, Philip Forsberg even. Put William Nylander with Elias Pettersson.
Yeah. I don't know
why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Or William Jesper Bratt. Or put him with Jesper Bratt. Like, put him with somebody good.
Like, say what you will about William Nylander, whether you're right or wrong. If you like him, you're right.
Yeah, but if you don't like him, I hate you.
Sitting back and just like watching that Swedish team play for the first 25-30 minutes of the game, it felt like anything productive that they did flowed through William Nylander. Like if it wasn't him,
the penalty, the first penalty of the game flowed through William Nylander, right?
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah, that's what you can knock him for. Oh, the penalty.
Yeah, I guess,
and it led to a goal.
Yeah, but okay,
he did so much, man.
I know.
It was so good. So good.
It's wild. I loved it. It was a good time. The crowd was bumping. And
I think I have to apologize, okay? Because I was down. I wasn't super high on this tournament. I'm like, I don't know if I care too much. All right. I I'm going to eat crow when I'm wrong, okay? I didn't know how well this tournament would turn out, so I'm now on the train, okay? I'm now getting on the train late, but I'm on the train.
I will say, like, I agree that I think it's a bit silly. Like, the format is kind of weird, but the, the, like, the idea, people have been saying, like, it's infinitely better than an all-star game. 100%
Oh,
agree.
yeah.
Like, it is, you know, like, I love the skills competition, 100%. The actual all-star game, I think the last time I watched one was when I was in university, and that was a long time ago. So this is infinitely better than what's it called?
An all-star
Than
weekend,
an
all-star
all-star
game.
game. Yeah, 100%. And I would love to see this. Like, if this is what the World Cup of hockey sort of became, like a mid-season, you know, 8-team thing. I mean, that obviously takes a lot longer, but it doesn't, I guess it doesn't have to. Like, you have 2 groups and they play 3 games and then in you go into the playoff rounds or whatever. But
Yep.
regardless, I thought it was a really, really cool, you know, like, they were giving it. They were going. It was great. The fans were great. Obviously, it's the Bell Center, so, like, they're gonna go nuts. You know, it's just the way it is there. And other thing too, the jerseys were impeccable.
Yes.
Red against yellow, like the Canada jerseys with the off-white and the vintagey kind of look, and the Swedes and that classic thing with the Swedish flag armband that was kind of negative spaced in there. Love it. So cool.
Ooh, so here's a question. Here's a question
yes.
then. Should the NHL, like, you can't entirely do away with away jerseys, but should it be color, like the actual home
Yes.
jersey versus home jersey if it's possible?
Yeah, it should. I think it should only be white if it's necessary. You give priority to the home team, but color versus color always looks so much better to me. Um, I don't really I own a lot of hockey jerseys. I don't really own that many away jerseys, like, at all. Um, yeah, I don't think I own very many. So
I own one.
I totally agree. It should be that, I think, but we'll see. But yeah, great game. I'm super pumped for tonight, Canada US, 8 p.m. I think if you're not watching that,
is that tonight?
You're nuts. Yeah, I think it's tonight, right?
Thought that was
now you're making me doubt things.
well, I would think it would be the other 2 nations, but I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, you're right. Finland US is tonight, right? I'm a dummy. They wouldn't play 2 games back to back.
More injuries, Will. More injuries.
Yeah, more injuries. Let's see. Yeah, so Canada US is on Saturday.
Yeah.
No games tomorrow. Saturday 1 p.m., Saturday 8 p.m. And then yeah. Well, it's gonna be a hoot. It's gonna be a real hoot.
And you know what? As much as I said 2.5-minute breaks were gonna be horrible, I'm so used to 4-minute breaks with WWE stuff that it didn't even bother me.
The commercials did kind of bug me after a while. I do remember going like, yeah, you notice a difference. You definitely notice a difference. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's got to be. They got to sell the time and they got to make their money. So anyway, I'm excited. It was a great game last night. Obviously, Sidney Crosby doing his thing, but great goal from Mitch Marner to finish it off. I mean, it was so strange also hearing the Bell Center go that nuts for Mitch Marner. Like,
yeah, that made me
seemed
laugh.
like such a weird universe. Like, Marner in a red jersey scoring a game-winning goal in the Bell Center and everyone going nuts. Like, it was like a weird parallel universe thing.
Stop it. I don't want to think about the alternative you're actually proposing here. Not allowed.
Uh-huh.
He would never. He's from here.
Right. Well, I know, but I'm just saying it was kind of strange. It was kind of strange to see that, but
it was hilarious when Austin Matthews showed up at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and the booze.
He's American. He plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
And he's also Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
The worst thing you could be in Montreal.
Yeah.
Boo! It just rained down. It was awesome.
He seemed to enjoy it. He popped a little smile. He seemed to enjoy it. Speaking of Austin Matthews, I don't know if this is a recent thing, but I saw a video of him at an autograph signing, and someone brought up a picture of him, and they were like, "Can you sign your forehead?" And he said, "Oh yeah, plenty of real estate," and then signed it. I thought
That's
that was
awesome.
hilarious. That was one of the funniest things to come out of his face. I thought it was hilarious. But anyway,
I love Austin, but not
yeah,
as much
good
as I
times.
love William Nylander. So
Good times, good game. Let's move on. We can do the thing.
yep. So how you feel about Craig Button's top 50 affiliated prospects, Mr. Billiam?
There's no such thing as a good one. I'll say that.
Why no?
No such thing as a good one. Obviously, I don't like. I mean, Ivan Demidov being number one makes sense to me. You know, you're not going to put Connor Bedard on there because Bedard is in the NHL and he's an entrenched player and everything. But yeah, like Ivan Demidov was number two for me last year, and I'm pretty sure in the 2022 draft, a guy like Demidov probably would have been number one or two for me. Like he's always
so now
been,
you will say there's a Habs prospect you like more than Logan Cooley. I see.
Yes, now I will. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Just not the one they took.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we like Juraj Slafkovsky around here, but I'd rather have Ivan Nemedov. But luckily they have both, so there's that. You know, I mean, putting some respect on Zeev Bouillon's name, yeah, I think Zane Parekh has had an exceptional offensive season this year. Whenever I've seen Saginaw, I mean, he's still Zane Parekh. There's still like, oh my god moments in his game, but I do think that the skill and the offense and everything is really electrifying, like a tremendous amount of fun. I mean,
he's going to be the Evan Bouchard for the other team in Alberta.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I actually think they're not entirely the same, but a similar. Oh, I don't want to say this word because I feel cringe saying it. A similar vibe of player.
Right. Well, I mean, I will say I still don't understand the Alexander Nikishin thing.
I don't get it at all, man.
I went and watched him again.
He's he's just so mid. I'm sorry.
He's fine.
I'm sorry.
He's fine, and I don't think he projects super well offensively unless you deploy him in offensive situations.
And we
right?
love we love the Carolina Hurricanes. I feel like we take almost every opportunity to scream their praises with a megaphone on this show.
I'm not even sure Carolina thinks that he's that good. Like that. I mean that I don't. Not to say they don't think he's good.
I know what you mean.
They don't think he's that good, you know? And so that seems hilarious to me. I mean, like, I like Liam Greentree as much as the next guy, but also having him in the top 10 league wide when you have guys like Catton and Aginla and even Gabe Perreault, Cole Hudson. Like, Cole Hudson at the World Juniors was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Greentree wasn't even there, right? Like, not saying that that's necessarily an indictment on him because he might have been a boost to that team in retrospect.
Yeah.
But like scrolling down, like he's got Artyom Levshinov at 25 next door to Konsta Helenius, which, you know, I mean, I was a Levshinov doubter, but you know,
Scott Morrow's at 22, by the way.
Yeah, Scott Morrow at 22. Like, I really like Scott Morrow, but even then I'm like, well, I don't know, like
Easton Cowan's at 18.
Like, he's got Artemonov and Protas ahead of Salayev, who was a top 10 pick in the last draft. I mean,
he's got Protas ahead of Nemitz.
Yeah, he's got Protas ahead of Nemec, right? Like, I mean, I really like Ilya Protas. I liked him last year, but I mean, he's wildly outperformed what I thought he would do this year. And I love Nikita Artemonov. So some of this, I'm like, yeah, I'm really happy that he's high on these guys. Sure. Someone mentions Tom Willander at 14. I think that's reasonable. Like, I like Willander more than some of the guys ahead, but I also like other guys more than Willander, like Berkeley Catton and Naginla, and I think Trey Augustine has a huge future ahead of him.
That was the
You
one
know,
goalie I mean, he was a high profile goalie anyways going into his draft year, but that's the one goalie I actually liked watching.
yeah, yeah. But like, I don't know. Yeah, like William Strumgren being on there all of a
That's
sudden, like
wild.
he was dead in the water. Also, he's listed as playing in the WHL, which he is not. But yeah, William Strumgren. I mean, I always have really liked William Strumgren, and I feel like the potential in his game has always been really, really high. But I don't know. He's having a good season though, so who knows? But like, you got Anton Salayev and William Strumgren next door to each
Mhm.
other. One was a top 10 pick, the other was like an AHL cast off last season. So we'll see where that goes. Um, I'm
Yeah, it
still
just doesn't feel like can you tell me what he values by looking at this
not a clue.
list?
I have no idea. Um, Scoring, guys who score, like I don't know. Like
Well,
Ryan Leonard has a ton of points,
Liam
scores a bunch of
Greentree
goals.
definitely has a ton of points.
Yeah, Liam Greentree, 81 points so far this year at time of writing. Jimmy Snuggerud, I think, is one of the leading scorers in the NCAA. Beckett Seneca is on pace for, like, if he played a whole season, like 140 points in the OHL. Sam Dickinson, almost 2 points a game as a defenseman in the OHL. Like, Sandin Pellikka scoring a ton. Like, Leka Ramaki scoring a ton. It's just a bunch of guys who are scoring a ton, which, fair enough. You know, you score for a reason. And there's a lot of good players out there. But again, like, this is kind of why I don't like once you get past like 15, I'm kind of going, whoa, okay. Like you see all these guys down there, but then the next group of guys like Luca Morelli. I mean, I like Luca Morelli as much as the next guy, but I don't know. You have him ahead of an Artyom Levshinov. One went second and one went in the third round. It's pretty wild. Um, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, like you're right. Like I look at it and I really don't know when I go, okay, I see inside his mind now. Um, and even the write up, right? Like I was kind of flipping through it earlier and yeah, I mean, but again, like these kinds of things are also so hard to do. Like it's like someone asked me to put one together a few years ago and I did and I hated it. Like I just was like, well, like I get that these things get clicks and I get that people love them, but all it is just rage bait. Like someone is not gonna like there's gonna be a fan base who's like, how could you possibly have this? And then there's gonna be another one that goes, how could you possibly have this? And it's like, well,
Detroit
like
Red Wings fans, Ottawa Senators fans for Will.
uh yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Yeah,
Historically,
historically
those are
speaking.
the two
Yeah.
fan bases that hate you.
Well, they don't hate me, but they don't often listen to the words that come out of my mouth. Um, they just see me not enjoying their guys as much, but
You
you know,
don't
whatever.
subscribe to the Iser plan,
No.
then we don't like you. At least that's how they used to feel.
Yeah. Like, would I mean, I'm seeing Carter Yakimchuk at 40. Would I have him behind a Rucker McGroarty or even
Would he be on the list?
uh I mean, considering some of the other guys on the list below him and stuff, like Jacob, maybe, you know, like
Would
I,
he
I don't
actually be
know.
on your list?
I don't know. See, this is what I mean. Like, I don't know. I don't really care. Like, uh, let's see. I'm just looking at like my sort of list of players who are here. Um,
But it's just really funny to me. Like, it just seems like a crazy exercise.
yeah, it is because it's impossible to do right. Like, it's impossible, right? Because it's like it's that question that I love to ask people. You know, when they say things, it's like, well, what do you mean, right? Like, who is better, right? When you look at a list of all 32 teams players that they've drafted, who who is better than whom and why? It's like you ask 100 different people, you're going to get 100 different answers probably,
Hmm.
you know? And so it's like I don't know, like you're combining like 5 draft classes here, you know? You have a guy who's going to be 24 next year listed as one of the best players not in the NHL that's a NHL affiliated player. Like you're telling me that Zane Parekh in 4 or 5 years isn't going to be like an offensively impactful player that you'd probably put in your lineup a little bit higher than Nikishin? I don't know. I just feel like that's a little bit
Mhm.
wild. But whatever. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's more like it's not so much to like pick on Craig Button, but more so it's just like these are just funny because it's like you can't get it right. It's functionally impossible, and people are gonna freak out. But then you look at what actually is in there, and you're going, okay, yeah, but like Simon Nemec that low, like I feel like if you looked at archives of this, I'd be very curious to see how it's fluctuated over the last couple of years.
Right.
Probably should have done that as prep for this show because I feel like we'd see some patterns on who goes up and who goes down and why.
Well, there's
Um,
always next list, right?
there's always the next one, yeah. So maybe we should file this one
We'll
away
stow
and
that idea away
yeah, we'll stow it away and take a look
because
later because
I swear
yeah.
we had a very like we did this earlier this year too, or last year, like earlier this scouching season.
Mhm.
I should rephrase because when I talk about the year when it comes to hockey, I think of NHL seasons, not like calendar year. So, and I think we
Yeah.
did one at the beginning of the NHL season. Like I think there was one around there. If I'm
Yeah.
not
I'm just
mistaken.
looking
Because I
looking to
remember
see if I
Nikishin
can
being really high in that one, and I was dumbfounded. Now he's even higher.
um I'm trying to find an archive from like last year when he did this, but I don't see
It's
any
okay.
just from
Well,
around.
because it's actually hard to find these.
Yeah, I
I
know.
find
I think they kind of clear it out. Like I think they must clear old stuff
it's so
on
you can't
TSN to
it's so
like
you can't
save.
do this exact
Exactly.
exercise we're trying to undertake. You're gonna have to watch our old video.
Oh, here's one from 2022.
Oh
That's
no.
Let's see, 2022. Just for fun. Let's just do this for fun. I found the 2022 list from it's the TSN staff, but there's a lot of Craig Button quotes in here.
Right.
Cale Makar at number 1, fair enough. There's Jason Robertson over Jack Hughes.
Oh boy.
Nick Suzuki, then Rasmus Dahlin, Elias Pettersson, Jake Ottinger, Miro Heiskanen, Quinn Hughes, Brady
Wait.
Tkachuk.
Who
Yeah.
was the head? Who was the like? Because I'm hearing all great players, and then
Yep.
who was the name that? Oh wait, no. Jason Robertson was over Jack Hughes. That was the one. Okay.
Yes. Number 2. Then he's got there's Trevor Zegras at 11.
Okay.
Moritz Seider. There's Bowen Byram ahead of Owen Power. Ironic, now they're teammates. I mean, this seems kind of reasonable. Tim Stutzla and Lucas Raymond behind Andrei Svechnikov, but like, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it seems reasonable. Like, these are all really good players in the NHL now. Let's see he's got Slavkovsky at 38, so that's kind of fun. Um, anyway,
Do you want to
yeah,
get to the Wheeler
let's keep
list?
it moving here. Yeah, let's do that. So, yeah, we're only going to touch on this a little bit because Wheeler, we're going to try to get him on the show to talk about this a little more. And of course, this stuff is paywalled, so I'm not going to like give the specifics of all of this stuff, really. But Scott Wheeler's always an interesting one to read. I think he does a really good job explaining his logic, which I always will value and respect, which is great. Um, looking at the ordering of some of these players, like I think he definitely believes in a lot of players who were highly regarded going into the season, which I think is fair. Like a Logan Hensler, for example, is in his top 15, and I've seen Hensler a few times this year, and I don't know if I would do that, but like he was quite good last year, and he might just be having a bit of trouble adjusting to the NCAA, and like he's not a bad player at that level either, but I don't know if I would, you know, uh, pick him like in his write up at 14th. He says that he could be a fine depth guy who can move pucks. Maybe a second pairing power play 2 guy, which okay. And if you get that with the 14th overall pick, then fine. But again, it's like I would love to see a thought experiment of like part of the reason why I'm also doing this show and have done it for years is because it's like you talk to yourself almost about a lot of these players. So when you say a thing about one player and then you say another thing about another player who's 20 spots lower, you kind of go, wait a minute, like it sounds like that player is a lot more interesting and a lot more intriguing and potentially a much more impactful option than this other one. So maybe I should go and in my work, it's like I would go and look and compare the two and see how they stack up against one another, right? Um, so it's interesting to see that kind of thing because like when you scroll kind of down a little bit more, like there's some guys that he has, you know, that he kind of thinks is a bit of a higher upside option.
Hmm. So
But I mean, I see the appeal of you know, I think there is a sort of line of thought doing this kind of stuff
yeah,
where you go you put on your NHL coach hat and go, who's actually going to play? Like, who is an NHL coach actually going to play, regardless of what I think of how good they are? Personally, I don't do that, but I think that that's a lot of stuff. I think that happens a lot, you know. So you go, okay, who checks a lot of boxes that an NHL coach will be able to trust? You know, are they physical? Are they dependable? Do they get around okay? Can they make an outlet pass? You know, do they go to the net? You know, it's like those little things. If you can check those off, it's like okay.
yep.
In the late first round, if you get a guy who does that, and you know you think a coach will play them, then you look like a good scout, right? Like
So
you're
that's
doing your
why
job.
Artem Levshinov went so high, yes, because he goes to the net, correct?
Yeah, he does. He does. He does sometimes. That's for sure. For better
So
or worse.
so what in particular, like, just pick a couple of the guys that you see on this
Yeah.
list where you go, okay, I don't agree with this.
I would love to talk to him about Radim Mertka. He's got Mertka in the top 10 and ahead of Victor Eklund. I like Radim Mertka. He's in my first round. He's been in my teens, maybe late teens. And the way he talks about him, like I agree that the ceiling is really high with him because he is a pretty mobile guy. He's playing a ton of minutes, like just playing a ton of minutes. I wouldn't call him phenomenal there, like Wheeler has. I think he's a player that is a bit of a project and takes some time. Will take some time to fill out. But I would love to talk to him about Merca a little bit more because I would like to dig into that. He's got Justin Carbonneau in the top 10 as well, which when he was on the show, he actually talked about Justin Carbonneau quite a lot, and Wheeler, I think, is also a guy who talks to a lot of these people directly. And like when a coach really gushes about a player or when other coaches really gush about a player that they play against, I think he factors that in. And he talked about Carbonneau in that way, where it's like he has this like level of strength and determination and everything that goes with that skill level that people love and coaches hate to play against and all that, which I think is fair. And I think again, like we've spoken about Carbonneau a bunch on the show, and it's like I mean, he says there are similarities between him and Michael Brunswick Newgard, and I don't think I would say that, but I do think that Carbonneau is, in terms of like skill and creativity, like one of the best in the draft. Like I think if you're just focused on I want a guy who I can give the puck to when he's in the neutral zone, you know, get the puck in the offensive zone and find a way to get a puck into scoring areas somehow, he can do that. I think that's fair. Um, but again, like seeing, I still personally like prefer these 200-foot impact guys, right? Like Carter Bear is slightly behind him. And I look at Carter Bear and I go, that's a guy who wins you games in the playoffs, right? Like that's a guy who, shout out, by the way, game tape Friday from recently with him. It
Hmm.
was a good one. Um, but yeah, I mean, a guy like that to me sticks out more often, but maybe doesn't have the like finesse. You know what I mean? Um,
Where's my bromance? Where's he got my bromance, Lyndon Lakovic?
uh,
Who, by the
in
way, that's the
the
game tape episode for tomorrow,
yes, we got
where
Lakovic tomorrow. Yeah,
where he says playing against Logan Stankoven was like playing against Carter Bear on steroids. That is his direct quote.
yep,
Logan Stankoven is Carter Bear on steroids. That is the quote, and it is
yep,
awesome.
yep. Lyndon Lakovic is in the back half of the teens, so I don't know. I mean, I kind of get that because I as much as I love Lakovic and I think he's a great player, he's a player who I think is going to need some development time and some patience, especially I think off the puck. But I love the potential of his game. Um, what else is going on in here, right? Like I mean, Okay. So I just for puck preps, I just submitted my under 18 Five Nations tournament report on every American player. So if you're interested in that, get a puck prep subscription. You can check it out in the next couple of days. But he's got a couple of NTDP guys in the first round, Will Moore and Jack Murtagh. And after seeing those guys in gross detail, I mean, I kind of get it, but I also just don't. Like with those guys, I mean, I don't know. Like the game against Sweden they played was awful for everybody. It was awful. Um and they just got blown out by a better team. And then they played Finland, who is also not a very good team, and they barely squeaked one out. Then they played Switzerland, who they were miles better than on paper. I think they won 4-0. And Switzerland they were just that game should have been more lopsided. And then they played the Czechs, and that game was kind of back and forth, and they still won, and it was fine. But I really felt like the Czech Republic had the better chances in that game.
Mhm.
I just with Will Moore, like I still just see a player where you kind of go like he's 85% of the way there. Like he has the determination and a good level of speed and a good level of skill, but his overall impact on the game is still pretty limited more than I would like it to be. You still like I feel like he's going to be a great college player. Like you give him a few years and he'll be a great college player, but beyond that to me is a bit of a question mark. Jack Murtagh, I honestly like I just did not. I still just don't really see it as much as other people. Like I have him ranked, and he's on my list, but I look at him and I go, I see something there, but I feel like it's one of those things where he'll just be gone before I'm ready to take him, so it almost doesn't matter. Like
Mhm.
I get that he's got some skill. He made some really nice plays in that tournament in tight areas, like off rebounds and slipping passes through the crease and all of that stuff, and that's all fun and good, but I felt like just getting around the ice and like the strength in his game just kind of wasn't there. Um, and again, like I came away way more impressed with in that tournament, at least Cole McKinney and Richard Gallant, who were on the same line as him. And I felt, Murtagh chipped in, but I felt like those other two guys were really impressive. And a few other guys on that team also showed quite well relative to what I thought going in. Um, like even say what you will about LJ Mooney, but he's had a rough season. I can't argue that. But in this tournament, like you still saw what he's capable of. You still looked at him, and I looked at him and I went, all right, you're there's some stuff I think that he's gonna need to like learn, and I think that he's a very, very confident player, and the style of play that he plays it requires like elite ability. And I'm not sure he's there, but I don't think he's very far away. Like he was still making some of the quickest, most aggressive, most like surgical and precise playmaking moments out of pretty much anybody on the team. And like you definitely, obviously this only means a little bit, but like they played a team like Switzerland and Finland, and I think it definitely came out way more against them. You saw how quickly he's able to generate space and little pockets of room and create little passing lanes and just do stuff. And I'm going, yeah, like, and he's aggressive off the puck. He goes after you. I just look at him and I go, yeah, like there's a lot going on here, but then he'll skate the puck into pressure. Then he'll just drive into a guy directly and try to challenge him one on one, which just will not work for him. He'll try to eat the puck along the boards. He'll overhandle and all these things and just kind of turn the puck over a lot. And I just kind of go, okay, like this is kind of the thing that's gonna, he's gonna need to do things quicker and make decisions quicker and just be much more of a surgical player, like in and out, get the puck, move it, get the puck, make a decision,
Right.
do that kind of thing. Um,
So here's my
and I think
question, Will.
he's got Mooney in the second round. So anyway,
What's a spicy take of Scott Wheeler's that you agree with or you can understand?
Mm,
I see. Will doesn't
um,
agree with anything. Cool.
no, I mean, there's nothing. I don't think there's much in here where it's like super spicy, and I'm like, yeah, you go, man. Um,
Nothing like Teddy Stiga at number 5, baby.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I have Riker Lee right in the same area as he does, like early second round, but there's a lot of like I look at a Braden Coots who he has at the end of the first round, and I look at Braden Coots and I go, I mean, yeah, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but I would want him in a bottom 6, you know? Like think of how Chandler Stevenson was for a little while, where he was playing more limited minutes and wasn't the biggest dude in the world and didn't play that big style of play, but still very impactful. A really good transition guy, really good forechecker, really good penalty killer as well. And I think Braden Coots could be that, and I have him quite a bit higher. I do like that he still believes in Adam Banach. I will say he's got Banach at 30, and I have him around that range as well, like in the late 20s for me right now. And I mean, I think the USHL has highlighted a bit of what the issues are in his game. Like he is very small. The work rate is really high. He's very agile, very skilled. There's lots that I can't, poke through in terms of ability and like talent, but like he still needs to be quicker. Like he needs to generate speed quicker and like LJ Mooney, like make decisions a little bit quicker because he's a guy who gets closed on really quick. You know, he's out of the play defensively a little bit too easily for a guy his size, especially. Um, he's not a bad player. And I think that he's one of these guys that someone is going to take with like their third selection in the draft, and it's going to be like 48th overall. And Banach will probably outperform a lot of the guys drafted plus or minus 10 picks in his range, who I still think is a bit of a doubtful, like there's a bit of doubt for his NHL upside. But I mean, he mentions his performance at the All-American game, which I thought was also really good too. I thought he played really well in that game, and definitely reminded me of like what he's capable of, with the skill level and ability in terms of creating offense and through his passing especially. But in the data and in the games I've seen, I just haven't quite seen it as much as other guys in this class. Um, I mean, yeah, like a lot of this, I have a lot of these guys way lower or just not ranked. Like I see a guy like Luca Romano on here in the second round, and I want to love Luca Romano a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential, but I just don't know if it's like NHL in the future. Like I feel like he's going to be an unreal junior scorer, and he's just really smart, plays a good game, like a really smart game. And yeah, he mentions that he thrives getting pucks out of the defensive zone, and I agree. Um, it's just like consistently driving offense at his size and with his style of play, and maybe not being the most physical guy. I think it's a bit of a question mark. Um, I think I'm not saying this because like I'm like disagreeing or anything, but I really one of the players that I just want to fast forward 5 years and see where they're at is Simon Wang. Like he's got Simon Wang top 40, and I don't have him like that much lower. I'm gonna take a look at where I have him right now. Um let's see. Is he even there? No, but okay. He's on my list.
In the
I'm just trying to find
meantime,
him. Yeah, what up?
I'm plugging the Simon Wang game tape.
Yeah, we did an interview with him.
We did an interview with him, and he was a very interesting guy. My favorite line is, "I told my mom school isn't my thing."
Hey,
That
he's self-aware.
That was an awesome line.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go check that out when this is done, and watch all of our other videos and buy us a million coffees. Thank you. Back to the regularly scheduled program.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, so I have Simon Wang at 50 right now. So second round, late second round, because he's just such a mystery box. And like the thing I get it, like he's got him top 40, and I get it. But it's like it's so interesting because I think that he's a guy who is like very gifted, but just hasn't got a feel for the game at a really high level yet. Like you watch him with Oshawa, and he gets around really well, but I don't think he quite knows how to like make quite the impact he's capable of. And he kind of makes passes a little bit, like he makes passes quickly, but like not with much direction behind them, and a lot of sort of um like just the awareness just isn't quite there. And like obviously going OJHL to the OHL is especially massive now. But it's interesting because people always say like when you're drafting players, hockey sense is a big thing that people are looking for. Like if you don't have guys who make good reads on the ice and don't have great awareness and blah blah blah, then it's a lot more questionable. But with a guy like Simon Wang, it's a bit more alleviated because he's so big and skates so well, and you go, well, he's a blank slate and he can make it work. So like, how do you value that and get it right? Like, I don't really know how. So it's going to be very interesting to see his development because he's going to play with Oshawa and then go to BU. I've seen him with Oshawa a few times, and I go, this guy is a ton of fun to watch. He's a really gifted skater for his size, but I do not have a clue what I do with him. Like, I don't really know. But I do think that he could be a very fascinating guy. Like, I would love to develop him into this like more offensive leaning puck carrying guy who can really sort of protect the puck well and just be a big skatey boy. But I think he's a bit of a ways off from that. What else do I mean? That's I mean, there's not a ton else that I really want to go through because we want to have him on the show and I want to talk about this more directly with him.
Mhm.
I think he has like 50 honorable mentions in here, which I think is also hilarious. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Hey man, he's got to make up for Corey Pronman's lack of content, right?
that's true. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's got to overcompensate.
So do you want to get into the chat questions by chance?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, but you are obligated to do something first. Unless somebody wants to fast forward it with a $50 donation. That's now the bar. That's now the
Yeah,
bar.
that's the bar. That's the bar's been set. Do you mean like I have to point towards Mecca and do a prayer, one of my daily prayers, or read the ads?
It's read the ads.
Yeah, read the ads. Okay, well, let's do that then.
I didn't expect you
anyway.
to go there with that.
That's just the first thing that popped into my head that like might be scheduled on someone's day. I don't know. I don't know because it is scheduled. But anyway, all right. What are we doing here? The ads, yes. So we're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our link in the description or scan the QR code in the video window or click the link in the chat, and anything you buy in the store will give us a small kickback, so that really helps us out as well. You can also help us out by getting a Puck Preps subscription. Like I said, I have a under 18 NTDP breakdown coming in the next few days. We do need to start having some of those guys on the show because they are very knowledgeable about some of the guys in this year's NHL draft class. So it's going to be a good time. And you can also help us out with a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you can get access to all kinds of really cool data tables and visualization tools for all of your prospect needs, whether they're drafted or undrafted. You can check it out over there at all kinds of different price levels. We were watching the Four Nations game last night together for a while and having a good time. So check it out. And it also definitely really helps us out very much directly. So on that note, let's get into it. Let's see what we got here. Let's do this. All right. So the first question, the first thing in the chat was Sidney Crosby's the greatest of all time.
He's one of them.
He's one of them. Super Mario, man, he was really something. I don't know. I'm still a Super Mario guy.
I am no longer putting out a greatest of all time. There is just no. There's an elite. Oh, sorry. I thought you said you're dumb.
Oh no, you're over it.
That's what I heard initially.
Immediately.
I guess it's because I hear it from I guess it's because I hear it from myself too much. That's the first thing I assume.
You do call yourself dumb very often. Yes.
True. I do. But I'm done with that stuff because I just want to appreciate players. You're in the greatest tier from now on for me, and Sidney Crosby is in the greatest tier with a bunch of other names. Including William Nylander, and you're never pulling him out of there.
True. Fair enough. Yeah, I get it. You should also look at the Hockey Writers top 100. They have Demidov only at 3. Oh boy. Yeah, I pulled this up actually. I haven't looked at it. We'll just do the top 10 because we don't have time. But they've got Nikishin at 1, then Levshinov, then Demidov.
Oh boy.
William, Lindstrom, Catton, Dickinson, Leonard, so many guys drafted last year. Sandin Pellikka at 9 and Zane Parekh at 10. Perot, Salayev, Seneca, Iginla, Danielson, Yakimchuk. I don't know.
Congratulations, Craig Button. You made a better list than someone.
It is what it is. I don't know. Levshinov at 2 ahead of Demidov. I mean,
And
fair enough,
again,
I guess.
not a slight on Craig Button. I honestly feel like Craig Button would be like the nicest dude ever. It's just
He is. He is a super nice dude.
I
got
just
nothing
I
bad to
just,
say
I just
about
don't
Craig
like the premise of the exercise. That's all.
Button. Yes. I mean, you do it because you kind of have to when you're in media.
And we cover it because we kind of have to.
Yeah, we kind of have to. I don't do it myself, even though I know it will get engagement because I don't want to.
Will doesn't want Sens fans and Red Wings fans coming back to the channel screaming at him like the old days.
I will cut my nose off to spite my face in that scenario. That's it.
One message that Will shared with me one time. It's just a funny thing. I'm not gonna like say anything crazy. Will said to me, "God, I hope Tim Stützle doesn't work out, so fans will shut the hell up about this."
Yeah,
I used to like this player. Now I just want him to. Now I just want him to be a bust and suck forever.
Yeah.
So they're miserable.
Yeah. But I love Tim Stützle. I love him to death. I think he's great. It's just
Sens fans really got to Will.
Me having him at 5 was apparently completely unacceptable, and the fact that I said he was a solid pick at 3 and he was going to be a fun player was not good enough. It wasn't apparently so not good enough that now I'm a moron. But whatever, you know.
Now you're a moron.
Yeah, now it makes me
just
a moron.
Just now, not
more of a dumber dum.
Yes, not all the things you did prior. You're just now dumb.
Yep. I've never been wrong except for me saying that Tim Stützle was not going to be the greatest player of all time. I've never been wrong. And now Tim Stützle is the greatest player that ever lived, even though he's not in the Four Nations faceoff. I mean, how good can he possibly be?
Yeah, exactly.
Loser. Anyway, I don't know. This is why I don't make these kinds of lists, because I don't know. I don't like subjecting myself to abuse for clicks, for an extra
two forms of abuse: the mental anguish you're going to feel putting that list together, and all the mean comments you're going to have to read afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Who's on the jersey? It's the name of the business, or my pen name, so to speak. It was a gift to myself. For I forget what milestone it was.
Wasn't it starting the business?
Well, the number is for that because 2016 was when I started doing this. But anyway, yeah.
When I was a 15-year-old child. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I was a fully employed corporate nut job. And now I'm a self-employed, impoverished, more nut job. It's the way my life has gone. It's the way I am.
Hell anyway, yeah, brother.
Yeah. After watching these 4 players play a bunch, it surprises me how lots of scouts have Carbonneau, Desnoyers, or McQueen above Carter Bear when he plays like the coach's favorite player. I fully agree with you, 100%. I really like Carbonneau. I really do. Again, I've said this a few times. McQueen, I'm going to hold myself from being too judgmental because he barely played this year and he was definitely up and down. But yeah, I mean, I really like what Carbonneau brings. The last game I saw of him, he was excellent, but I think he's going to be one of these guys where I watch him off the puck and when the puck's in his own end and him running breakouts through his passing, like if he's not like if the game were literally like one-on-one Rocket League where it's like you just are the only guy on the ice with the puck on your stick and you do whatever you want, one of the best players in the whole draft. Like I'm very certain of that, right? Like great puck carrier, great skill, super creative, challenges you one-on-one really well. Even if you get on top of him, he can kind of hold you back and do a pretty good job of that. Like all of that is there. But outside of that, to me, and that's very important, is a little bit of a question mark. Whereas with Carter Bear, I just think he's all around like so talented. Like I think he brings everything that works in the NHL, like in spades. And I feel like he might not be a dominant, first line superstar winger, but I do think he's going to be a very, very, very useful, dependable guy in the regular season, in the playoffs, like physical, intense, and for me, he is in a tier that stretches from 5 to or yeah, 4 actually. 4 through 9, 8. 4 through 8. So Eklund, Martone, Potter, Bear, and Smith are together for me. And I love Carter Bear. I'm a huge fan.
Here's a thought. Is he
What?
just a taller Connor Garland?
I mean, he's quite a bit taller than Connor Garland, I believe.
Well, he's 6 feet, and Connor Garland's what, 5'8",
5'8",
5'9"?
I think. I don't know.
But like role wise, like in terms of what he brings.
Maybe.
Because I love me some Connor Garland. Connor Garland is one of my favorite players.
Yeah, he is a great player. He's a really good one. I agree, Thomas. God bless the Asian Games. It's, I love it. I love this kind of stuff. Have you seen Alex Turcotte play lately? Thoughts? Yeah, we actually watched a Kings game not too long ago, and Turcotte's been good.
Mhm.
Like I don't think he's been like incredible this season, but that's kind of like, considering how his career has gone, this is kind of a good stepping stone, right? Like, he is on pace for how many points this season? 32 in 77 games, so like a 35-point player maybe. I mean, that's not obviously top 5 selection level production, but like, I still see him and I go, yeah, he's got a great motor. He's competitive. He's a pretty skilled guy. He's smart. He brings a lot to the table that's just solid. And I don't know how much he's playing in a given game. Yeah, he's not playing very much. Like, he's listed in his last 10 games, 2 games over 12 minutes, and a bunch that are under 10. So he's not playing a whole lot. So hopefully, this is a first step of like working his way up the lineup. He's 23 years old. He's turning 24 in a week and a half, or 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens with him. But I've been pleasantly surprised with him. Like, I've always kind of liked him and hoped, because he's had a lot of injuries, that he would find his way into the NHL and stick. And the Kings have been good. Like, the Kings have been cooking, and being a fourth line player on a pretty darn good team. I believe they're like near the top of their division, if not the top, aren't they?
They're not at the top. I think they're
third.
They're third. I think Vegas and
But
Edmonton are
yeah,
pretty
so
close.
they're in a playoff spot, locked in a playoff spot. They're quite a bit of a ways ahead of the rest of the competition there.
Mhm.
Vancouver and Calgary and Anaheim. So yeah, like, they're having a good year, and being a fourth line player on a good team like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I feel bad for Shea Theodore. Yeah, he gets hurt game 1. Yeah, that sucks. I mean, poor Shea Theodore. Oh my God. Here you go, AJ. When the Sportsnet panel said Parayko, arguably the best defenseman on Canada, my brain blew up. I mean, yeah, that is pretty brain exploding quality analysis, but
That
I don't know.
statement caused me mental pain.
I had the TNT stream going, so I didn't see it, but
Hey,
TNT
well, I'm a
seems to have
decent
their head on straight.
citizen, and I mooch off my parents' television. So
I am a internet activist. I'm a millennial. I'm an internet activist, and I refuse the product that Sportsnet offers Canadians. I'm refusing it actively.
fair enough.
Someone mentions Carter Bear is very overrated. I mean, say what you will, he'll run you over. Saginaw with Misa on the ice are plus 64. Without him on the ice, they're minus 27. That is crazy. That's a crazy statistic.
That's awesome.
I obviously can't fact check that in front of my face, but that's hilarious. He's the first player in the CHL, I think, to 100 points. And it's February. Like, I don't know. And adding Igor Chernyshov, I mean, you can go watch the Chernyshov video room, but like, I mean, I really like Igor Chernyshov, and I think he's a really, really great player. He's a great scorer. He, paired with a guy like Michael Misa, like, ignites his offensive potential and ignites Misa more so. Like, it gives Misa a target that he can really depend on, that can really just hammer hockey pucks and score goals. And Chernyshov does the same thing for Misa. Like they complement each other so well. And I mean, what can you say? Like Misa at 100 points already this season is just astounding. He is still at 1 goal per game pace basically and 1 assist per game. Like that's crazy. Like he's going to hit 50 goals in like maybe by the end of the month, which is outrageous. One of the greatest draft eligible CHL seasons I've seen that isn't like Connor Bedard was in a sort of class of his own, but he's having an unbelievable year. There's no doubt about it. Okay, so here's a comment about his goals per game rate. Only Bedard, Crosby, Kane, and Tavares have surpassed it in their draft year. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Misa, like, like I am very, very, very close to dropping Hagens out of my top tier because of how good Misa is. Like it's becoming sort of not even a question mark who I would take first, which to me is like, well, one might be a tier below. Obviously, like Matthew Schaefer, he's been spectacular. And I think that if Matthew Schaefer had been playing a full season to this point, it would be a much more difficult thing because we just haven't had the sample of his. But if he played a full season at this rate, yeah, he'd be like at 90 points this year for a defenseman on a team that isn't amazing. Like I don't think Erie is particularly awesome this year. I don't think they're bad or anything, but I don't know the OHL standings off the top of my head. Yeah, Erie is third in their division. They'll make the playoffs, but they're behind. They're well behind London and Kitchener. So he's playing on a team that is just below the top tier of teams in the league, like Saginaw, and he's been exceptional for a guy who had mono at the beginning of the season to go from mono to playing so well with Erie to being literally the defenseman who got injured at the World Juniors after being so good. And after he got injured, the Canadian team just fell apart, it seemed, offensively. That's an interesting resume. But, I mean, you don't have to convince me too hard to go, yeah, but Misa is Misa and we should draft him. And I'm going, okay. Like, Tony, I think, has Misa at 1.
Yes, he does.
And I totally understand why. I totally get it.
Here's what Tony said to me. Misa is a human calculator, like a human hockey calculator. He sees everything and he factors everything in to his decision making. And Matthew Schaefer is like bringing a knife to a gunfight or something like that. That's what he said.
But he wins.
But he wins, yes.
He wins. He brings the knife to a gunfight and wins. Anyway,
or maybe it was the other way around, but either way, it's like
bringing a gun to a knife fight seems unfair, but whatever. Sanheim can play both sides effectively because Tortorella had him in New York, and him and York play on their offside last year. Okay, yeah, I mean, hey,
then put Travis Sanheim. Yeah,
if you want to try,
Travis Sanheim.
If you want to try Travis Sanheim, you don't have to twist my arm at all. I love that guy.
He rocks.
Yeah, he's a good one. When you track games, what's your preferred location? For me, I love coffee shops for the atmosphere. Ever consider changing it up? I do go to the library once in a while. The Burley Public Library here, not very often. But
so if you want to catch Will in the middle of a tracking session, go to the library.
Go to the library. But I don't do it that much because my laptop is pretty small, and this is like a spaceship for me down here, right? Like.
He's got like, Buddha behind him.
I do, but I've got like 2 big monitors here, good speakers, a big PC tower.
Big speakers has the game on mute though.
Yeah. It's so that I can listen to my SpongeBob beats really.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see.
I gotta have my Patrick Starr drum and bass mix at
gotcha
level. At
gotcha. 100. I get it.
Yeah, I have another monitor down here for like a little auxiliary things and like running Discord and stuff. And like, this is like great. I don't like leaving this space, So I will say, as I get older and being someone who works from home, it's one of those things that is worth spending money on, like your workspace, right? Like a nice chair, good desk that you want, a big desk, you know, computer monitors that like work for you and like your workflow makes a huge difference, a huge difference, mentally speaking. If especially if you sit at your desk and work all the time. But I do leave the house once in a while, you know. They have open ice times that I go to sometimes, and so you go to the library before, you get in the car, go across the road to the rink and skate around for a while, go home and do your
Will
thing.
only leaves the house for hockey related reasons and like to drop his partner off at the train station. That's it.
You are pretty much entirely correct.
Yeah. I figured.
You are almost entirely correct. I mean, I do have some friends that I leave the house to go and witness.
Yes, at hockey rinks.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see Dylan Galloway at a rink and we say hi.
Or you pick Sam and I up and
right, go to Brampton.
Yes, go to Brampton
and sit in their purple chairs.
Their purple chairs, yeah.
Purple plastic seats. Oh boy.
You saw Steven Ellis at that game too. We
did, yeah. Steven's everywhere. I see him everywhere when I'm out and about. I mean, not everywhere, but all over the place. He's the boots are on the ground with that boy. Favorite Swedes from the U18 Five Nations. Yeah, I mean, I will admit that I only for them have seen the US game all the way through. But in those games, let me just double check who I am looking at here. Yeah, so I got the list in front of me. Ivar Stenberg is awesome. That's undeniable now. I think guys like Aaron Dahlqvist and Malte Voss are interesting players that I thought showed pretty well in that game. I think Elton Hermanson is a very intriguing player for next year's draft. He's an 08. Frondell was fine. I thought Frondell was just a good physical all-around player. I really liked Eric Nilsson, but I'm biased on that for sure. Victor Klingsell, like, I don't think I have him ranked, but I like him. Like, I think that when I see him internationally, his offensive zone play is really, really good, and like the skill level is interesting, but I just don't know about projecting him to the NHL. But yeah, I mean, they were a really good group though. Yeah, like Melvin Novotny was pretty decent as well. Jacob East Wozniak also looking pretty solid. But yeah, Ivar Stenberg is looking real good. Real good. Yeah, Catton Catton's at a 134 point pace, but he has him near Easton Cowan. Yeah, I mean, like, but Easton Cowan,
one's a prospect for the Toronto Maple Leafs and one's a prospect for the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, exactly. You just said it. You took the words out of my mouth. Buttery Spread says he can't believe that Fabian Lysell didn't make the Four Nations tournament. I agree. It's a sham. Yep. It's shambolic.
Well, it's because Boston keeps him in the AHL basement that they have, and
Jeffrey VL and not feeding him enough.
And Boston's not very good. They're not very good. You can bring him up and he'll help.
Yeah, but they're not gonna.
He literally, other than scoring a point on that first shift he played in the NHL, did all the work.
Have you thought that he's too handsome and Swedish? And the handsome Swedish bias.
But look at William Nylander.
Against him. Yeah, and look at what happened with him. It took him forever to earn the hearts of a lot of people.
Yeah, but William Nylander at least played. I saw William Nylander play games in 2015.
Correct.
With Zach Hyman and Nikita Soshnikov on a first line, all right?
Oh my God, Nikita Soshnikov.
And they beat Nashville that night. Philip Forsberg scored like 2 goals. But William Nylander and Zach Hyman, that connection worked great.
Yep. Will you do a scouting report on my Be a Pro character?
The GOAT. You're the GOAT. You're the GOAT.
Yeah, they're the if you're not the GOAT playing Be a Pro, then what are you doing? Who's the next very good prospect from a Germany, Switzerland, Latvia, or other small country that isn't drafted yet? It's a very good question.
You can put there's a good answer that you can give, Will. That is I think a very Will answer.
Is it
this person may hail out of Thailand?
Yeah, Nachi Yanathorn Yanakorn Thanapunt. Yeah.
That's the answer. It's the only answer.
Yeah, that guy rocks. Yeah, Thai national team at this age. What can you say? 5'9" defenseman, but
Do you have a legit answer though, or is that the best you're gonna be
well,
able to come up with?
let me look. I think there is. I mean, Nicholas Aram Olsen for next year is Norwegian, and he is quite good. What else do we have here? I'm just looking at Elite Prospects' what's it called? Draft. Oh my God, what's the word? Draft center for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I guess like Slovakia and Czech Republic don't count. There's a kid from Lithuania who I'm curious about.
So he
playing,
must be tall because he's from Lithuania. That's just
he is actually
that's just how it works.
Simas Ignatavicius. He's from Memphis, but he's Lithuanian. He's playing in Switzerland. But I saw him. I think he was an opponent of somebody, and he looked real good for a 6'4" guy.
I swear to God, Lithuanians are just the tallest people, man.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him also at the Division 2A tournament for the under-20 team as a 17-year-old, and he was by far, like, it wasn't even close how much better he was than everyone else in that tournament. Because I mean, I'm one of the only people who probably even bothers to watch it. But I would say that if you want someone off the board that actually seems kind of interesting, like he's over a point a game in the Swiss Junior League, Lithuanian kid who plays for the Lithuanian national team, and I've liked him every time I've seen him. I'm going, yep, this guy's kind of neat, especially for a big boy up the middle. What countries would you like to see in the World Cup? Well, I mean,
Czechia.
Sure. Yes. I would love to see. I know it's not going to happen, but the North America thing was such a cool idea. Like a kid team of young, like the futures team would be so cool. And like giving
the Craig Button top 50 affiliated prospect list, but only like North Americans.
A global team of the best young kids out there would be really cool. I think the Team Europe thing should be a thing, but like I would give the Czechs their own team, but like Germany and Slovakia and we'll see about Russia. I mean, hockey just ain't the same without Russians, but that's a conversation that's much more complicated than just that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know the answer to that.
Okay, let's say ideal world, Russia though. Ideal world, Russia.
Yeah. Ideal world, Russia's there instantly, obviously.
The Czechs.
I would think the Czechs. I think the Czechs are. You could make an argument that the Czechs have more of a right to put a team in this tournament than Finland does.
No.
I mean, Finland has some amazing players.
No. Now I understand why people get defensive about Finland around you, because I think that's a little nuts to say. I mean,
like if you have
who's the Czechs' number one center? Who's the Czechs' number one center?
Maybe I'm thinking too much about like what I'm seeing at the youth level and like projecting it into the future, because the Czechs are ahead of the Finns at this age right now. I think, no question.
Yeah, but NHL players, the Finns clear the Czechs. It's not close. It's not close. Yeah. Who else is playing other than David Pastrnak?
Necas, Hurdle.
Okay.
Zaka, Hedel, Palat.
Right, but is that better than Barkov, Rantanen? Right? Like,
no, it's not.
I don't think any of those players are better than Barkov, Rantanen.
Hey, I'm not saying I'm not stupid sometimes. I'm not saying I'm not a dum-dum. But I don't know. It just feels weird not having these guys, some of these guys not there. But anyway, neither here nor there. They should have
obviously too. Rupe Hintz.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, they're good. Okay, I'm dumb. There, you won.
Good.
But anyway,
that's what you'll be saying on March 7th when I whoop you in AOE 2.
I'm so close to pulling the plug on that because you won't shut up about it. I swear to God. Every day, AJ's like, I'm gonna kill you.
That's so great because your mic just cut out as you said that too.
Exactly. That's what's gonna happen to me on the stream. My mic's gonna explode out of frustration. what's the potential for Shane Wright, a 60-point second line center? I've watched a couple of Kraken games, and Beniers is disappointing. I don't know how you find Matty Beniers disappointing personally, but I get it. He's not scoring a bunch of points, and Shane Wright is scoring. But I don't know. I mean, Shane Wright, I don't really care. Like
I
I
think
think
that's
he's
a
good.
reasonable, like what they said is reasonable
Yeah, like a
projection.
second pair 50, 60-point guy. Like I really like how he's played with Seattle this year. Like
Mhm.
I mentioned it at the beginning of the year that he's a guy who you might want to keep an eye on and not forget about. And he's on pace for a 45, 50-point year. And he's only 21. Like if he's that 55, 60-point second line center, or like they have like with Seattle, the fascinating thing about Seattle is they have so many just good players.
And
Like
good
if you
centers too.
yeah, and if you had a lineup with like Stevenson, Beniers, Wright, Catton or something in the future, okay. Like or if it was Beniers, Stevenson, Wright, Catton, or Wright, Beniers, Stevenson, Fisker, Molgard, like okay, like I could see all of that working. Like it, so it's like is he a second line center? It's like, yeah, I think it's entirely possible. But it's kind of up to the coach, but like I think he could easily belong there or deserve to be there. Um, is Stankoven okay? He started so hot and now as cold as you can get without being benched. I mean, I don't know. But I will say what I say about all of the kinds of things like this. Like usually guys like Logan Stankoven just don't forget how to play hockey. Um, like it's not I don't know. Um, I don't know the answer to that. I also haven't seen a ton of the Dallas Stars this year recently, especially recently. So I can't answer that really. I'm sure he's okay, but if I don't think he's forgotten how to play hockey.
I
Uh,
think he's playing on like the fourth line right now. The last
yeah,
I
he's
checked, which is
playing
kind of nuts.
12 to 15 minutes a game, something like that.
Well, that's kind of dumb.
Oh well.
Feel like you let Logan Stankoven do his thing because he's really good.
Yep. Where would Teddy Stiga go in the 2025 draft? Probably a little earlier than you went, but probably not that much earlier. Where would I have him ranked?
First overall, obviously. No,
Oh.
you'd have him at like 6 this year instead.
I don't know. I do really like Ben Kindle, and he's at 9.
Okay, Teddy Stiga or Victor Eklund?
Oh, Eklund,
Teddy Stiga or Porter Martone?
Martone.
Okay. Teddy Stiga or Jackson Smith?
That's where it gets tough. Like I'd say 8 or 9. He's probably slotting in there for me this year. 8, 9, or 10, something like that.
Okay.
In what scenario could you see Hagen still going first? I can't. I he doesn't go to the under 18s, so he's not going to get that boost. Like if he just he's just over a point a game in college hockey, which is a very good season. Like that's a very good freshman season. And he has been a lot more comfortable looking the last couple of games I've seen of him than earlier in the year. But geez, man, like Misa has just gotten better and better and better. And Schaefer was sick and then came back and got better and better and better. And then
Will's
got
also
hurt.
wearing a Canada jersey, so his bias
Yeah,
is showing.
well, that too. Yeah, I hate America, so that also factors in. I'm kidding, but Hagen's like again, I think it's that old adage, right? It's like it's not that he's been bad. It's just that I think 2 guys at least have cleared him. Um, and I really like him. Like I mean, Bob McKenzie said it was 10 out of 10. Schaefer was it 10 out of 10 or something that Schaefer was first? I think was it unanimous?
I
For
think
some reason,
I think you're right. I'll go
yeah,
make sure of that, but I
yeah, I
think you're
think
correct.
it was unanimous. And like I don't know. I don't know. Like I feel like I don't think Schaefer or me maybe Schaefer's at the U18s. Misa probably won't be. Um so that'll be an interesting one. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't see it happening personally. If it's me, if you ask me, which you are, I don't think it happens. What?
If you ask me, which you are.
Yeah, I mean you are. Uh someone says
just made me laugh.
they weren't booing Austin Matthews apparently. They were saying Bruins. which for some
Sure.
reason that makes no sense, but
Sure.
go nuts.
Sure.
Yeah. Levshinov is playing in the AHL, which is the second best league in the world. Why are players not playing in the AHL ranked low when Levshinov's in a junior league or NCAA? He'd score a lot. I mean, because Levshinov is not amazing. Like he shouldn't be playing in the AHL, if you ask me. I've been saying that for like a year. Like he should be in college because he still wasn't. I don't know. Like whenever I see him in the AHL, I've poked in on him here and there. I'm like, yeah, he's fine there, and he's gonna be fine. But if I had my way, I wouldn't have thrown him in there this quickly. Like I don't know. But
So, Will, yes, you were correct. Schaefer,
okay,
unanimous one.
Okay, got
It's
it.
actually the headline of the article.
Yeah. What's funny about last night's Four Nations game is if Canada lost in overtime, Canadian media would ask for a summit. If they won in overtime, they'd say everything is great. Well, nah. I don't think anybody's thinking that seriously about this tournament. Like, I don't think it's like this like judgment on like the quality of whatever. It's just a thing. I think that at the World Juniors is a different story. And that athletic article from the other day about goaltending in Canada was very interesting. If anybody has an athletic subscription, they should go. I forget who wrote it. I should remember because I'm a bad person.
No, you're not a bad person. You're just bad at plugging things.
Yes, but it's a really, really good article about the dilemma of goaltending in Canada. And I think it speaks to a much larger issue in this country. But yeah, I mean, I will say though, Canada having a 3-1 lead and being that dominant for a while and then ending up in overtime, going to a shootout, or ending up in overtime, sorry, whatever. Side note, 10-minute overtime needs to be a thing in the NHL.
Yes.
100%. 100%. This is a good way to look at it and for the NHL to go, this works.
I
and
think that's
this.
what this is to an extent.
think
They're
so, too.
trying it out, seeing how it
Otherwise,
plays.
they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would they do it otherwise?
Well, also, losing in a shootout in this tournament, it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But hey, I like the fact that you get 2 points for an overtime win, and it's a 3-point system.
I agree.
I think that's
another
better.
thing I think the PWHL does that. I think it works really well.
You can thank Colton Parayko for the pity point, Sweden.
Yeah. Do you think Button outsourced the majority of this? I don't think he's in the weeds of the draft like you guys. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah,
but I will say this: let me outline this. I spend all day, every day, watching the 2025 NHL draft class. Not every day, but almost every day. That is what I'm doing. At night, I'm doing that very often, and I still, at the end of the season, go, I could probably speak in detail about 80 guys, 90 guys, and then I'm like comfortable, right? The 2026 draft, I am not comfortable with my takes at all. How the 2019, 20, 21, 22, and 23 and 24 draft classes are all stacking up against each other
with new information.
All intertwining against one another is functionally impossible. Like, I do not care at all. There is some level of just, I'm going to BS this because my editor asked me to do this. So I'm just going to just put it out. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm like doing this wrong, but like, it just is impossible. Like, people ask, I face questions twice a week from people, and I try to say I don't know when I don't know the answer. And like, people will ask me stuff, and like, I have to say, like, I just haven't seen this guy in a while. Like, I just don't have the time to know exactly what a guy is up to if they were like a 17th overall pick 5 years ago. It's like, I just don't have the time. And so to imagine that there's like these gurus out there who, oh, here's my 2026 NHL draft list. It's like, okay, I mean, I don't see how you do it, but it gets the engagement. So I like, there's that balance, right? It's like, do I do it because it's my job, or do I do it because I think I know how this all breaks down? So I don't think it's that it's outsourced, but I think it's just something that gets engagement and gets written because it gets engagement, and it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't, there's no way to prove that it's wrong, right? Like, so he could put whatever he wants on there, right? And it's like, okay, like
Mhm.
fair, I could see that, right? So yeah, it's a functionality thing to me. I just don't I don't have the brain capacity. Maybe that's my fault, but I don't know.
Not to
I'm
know
so
it
much more
off
focused on this.
like just on hand. That I think is the main point, right? Like not being
It
able
would
to
take
know it on hand, because you mentioned stuff about you get asked questions and you just don't know the answer. It's not that Will is not going to then give you the answer down the line. It's just you may not have it on hand.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also like if I did want to put one of these together, it would take me like a month of like straight work to like watch
And
all
then
these
you'd be
guys,
behind in the thing that
and
you
then I
care
would be
about the
behind doing,
most.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to put something out where I'm like, I guess, like I'd rather do something where it's like I know why I believe what I'm putting out there so that in 5 years when someone goes, "Hey, you look dumb because of this," I can at least go, "Yeah, but here was my reasoning and here's why it didn't work out that way and here's how I will try to do better," right? Like that's the kind of progression over time that I'm aiming for. Anyway, it's a logistics thing for me. Uh the AHL is definitely not the second best league in the world. Okay, we're getting into this, eh? Um I mean, I would agree. That same commenter says the SHL clears the AHL, and I think the SHL is extremely underrated. The Swiss league is great too. Like European pro leagues, don't sleep on those. Don't sleep on them at all. I was looking at Wheeler's 2021 drafted prospect rankings, and he had Lambos at 15. Feels like an impossible. Well, yeah, I mean, but like in Carson Lambo's case specifically, people were taught. This is, like I wasn't a huge fan of Carson Lambos, and I think Lambos is a good example for me to go, if I don't believe in a guy, I don't really care what everyone else says. I'm gonna put him where I think he belongs. And I didn't quite feel super comfortable doing that at the time. And I think it's this inertia thing, right? Like I think it's this idea that you have a guy who's really highly touted when they're 15, 16, 17 years old, and they're talked about all the time, especially when you're in Canada. And then you watch them play, especially seeing Lambos play in Finland. That was when I was like, whoa, like,
Hmm.
okay, then you kind of go, but maybe there's something I'm missing, right? Like he was drafted super high in the WHL draft and he plays a ton of minutes and blah blah blah. So like, maybe there's something I'm missing. But for me, I look at that and I go, but also I can't really fault him because at the time everybody was talking about Carson Lambos. Like he went into that season like a top 5 rated guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't hold anything like that against guys like Scott because I know he does the work. Like I know he's out there doing the thing, and like I'm gonna have takes in 5 years that probably look ridiculous too. Like you probably already can do that going back in time. Like I don't know, but if you can rationalize it and explain it and like learn from it, I guess if you can, then great.
But Will, here's
What?
the one thing you forgot. He is also medium elite in NHL games. So I
Mm.
actually, like, I say that jokingly, but I actually think there is something that plays into that. And I'm serious.
Oh,
I
100%.
feel
I
like
agree.
putting medium elite on a player gives them a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
at
I
one
agree.
point, William Nylander was AHL top 6.
Because he was that at one point. He was
And
an
now
AHL
he's
top 6 player.
franchise, I
He was
think.
18 years old when it happened, but he did do that at one point. Um.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, what have you thought of Jet Luchenko recently? His numbers have been pretty strong since the World Juniors ended. Yeah, I love Jet Luchenko.
Maybe a future
I
game tape. Or
yeah,
not game tape, video
future
room.
video room. Yeah, potentially coming. Um, I mean, I think he's looked extremely good for Guelph. I actually he was playing in the game against Saginaw. That game ended 10-7. It was a absolute tire fire of a
That was
hockey game.
crazy.
And but he scored a really, really smart. He's just such a smart player. Like I just watch him and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I could see exactly why a guy like John Tortorella would go, you know what? Let's give this kid a cup of coffee. And that's why I love John Tortorella, because it's like he identifies in Luchenko the kinds of things that I think make a lot of sense, that you want to reward a guy like him with opportunity, right? You watch him play, you see how smart he is at both sides of the ice and both sides of the puck, and how he has these like little thoughts and ideas that allow him to generate offense that are just a step ahead of a lot of his competition. So for me, yeah, like it makes a lot of sense to see him doing really well. I think he's a lot more intelligent and stays a step ahead of his opponents a lot better than a lot of others in the OHL. And yeah, he's been really hot. He's got well, he has 14 points in his last 10 games, but 4 came in that game against Saginaw. But he was very good in that game from what I saw. Scott Wheeler sorts by what was this? Oh,
Skill.
there's
Scott Wheeler sorts
yeah.
by skill.
Oh, I lost it.
Rodman
Yes.
sorts by size, I think is what it
Button
was.
by spiciness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
button by spiciness.
And I sort by descending size. That's true. I do actually ascending. So the lowest guys are at the top. LJ Mooney first overall. Easy peasy. Call it a day. What do you think of Cooper Simpson? What did his choice to stay in high school say about him? I mean, I'm not going to speculate about what a choice to stay in high school says about him. Like, I remember people talking about Scott Morrow. Like, people were questioning his ability to commit to the game by going to high school again instead of the USHL. And I think in reality, it was that his family, it was because of the pandemic, and he didn't want to leave home and like be away from his family too much during the pandemic. And so he made the decision to stay in school rather than go to the USHL. And then he went to the USHL anyway, after the season was over. But Cooper Simpson, I mean, obviously circumstances are a little bit different, but I'm not gonna pretend like I know why he's doing a thing, especially because he was in the USHL last year. But I mean, I love him. I mean, he's got 41 goals in 24 high school games this year. But yeah, I really like Cooper Simpson. I can't say I've seen a ton of him this year. Like Minnesota high school video access is a little bit limited. But he's always struck me as a really skilled, great finisher. Um, high school is always a bit of a questionable area, but you leave those guys in school for a while, you never know. Any standouts from the other teams at the U18 Five Nations, and if you watch the U17 or 16s? So I didn't watch those other two tournaments. The under 18 Five Nations, I mean, Cole McKinney was great for the US. I'll say that. I thought LJ Mooney was pretty good. Garrett Lindbergh was really good. Or not Garrett Lindbergh. Oh my God. Richard Gallant. I get those two mixed up all the time. They both were single digit numbers. Who else was in that tournament? I saw a bit of the Swedes. Yeah, like the rest, I didn't really see a tremendous amount from, right? Like
Will
the
hates
Finns
all prospects. That's
they're all bad. Yeah. Yazu Mensinen on Finland was okay. Lassi Bullius was pretty good, but I still wonder about his NHL role at some point.
Doesn't matter. His name's sick.
Yeah, that's true. Lassi Bullius is a great name. To add on to the above, which nation should we be on the lookout for future success, especially in the under 20s? Yeah, Czech Republic for sure is one of them. I think Slovakia has some interesting players on the way that are like under 18 right now, like Sverchek, Dubrovic, Pobazal is 18, but Pobazal's pretty decent. I'm trying to think of other ones, but Slovakia has some good ones. Latvia, I mean, obviously the Latvian junior team being that young and beating Canada and doing what they did is interesting and worth keeping an eye on. Internationally though, like I'm trying to think of the teams that have like made a hard push recently. Like Japan had a couple of years there. I think Japan got double promoted, I think, at the under 18 level. But I don't think they're like under threat to be like a future top level country. But I don't really know. Like the other thing too is like the bar is so high for countries like that it's really hard to get there. Norway has some good young players, but they should have won that World Junior tournament and they didn't. Which is too bad. But
Sorry,
yeah, like
Felix.
Tobias. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like Slovakia has some good ones. Like I like Tobias Tomic. Defenseman, I mean, there's a few that I like Adam Kalman is one that I've liked. Obviously not like an NHL super high upside guy, but Slovakia and the Czech Republic are looking really good. And I'm always keeping an eye on Japan. Whenever I watch the Japan national team, they're always a ton of fun. They're a lot of fun. They play with joy, I would say, is the Japanese team. People are blind. The best line was Reinhardt, McDavid, Marner. The advanced stats say the same thing. McDavid was a beast. Yeah, I mean McDavid was amazing.
It was
Like,
just
he was,
McDavid though.
yeah, he was Connor McDavid. Yeah, he was Connor McDavid. Like he was just outstanding. I
Like-
mean, I agree. Like Sidney Crosby got the points, and so that gives him the attention. And I thought Connor McDavid was just like bonkers.
McDavid was on another level yesterday, and
Yeah.
I didn't. To be honest, I didn't notice a ton of Marner until the end of the game. Really, like it was the McDavid show on that line because Marner is a puck carrier too, but you're not gonna take that job from Connor McDavid, okay?
No,
You're not taking
you're
it from the best player in the world, and
Yeah.
specifically that is the thing he does the best.
Yep.
So Mitch Marner kind of was a bit of a passenger, a little bit.
Game-winning goal.
Game-winning goal, but
Game-winning goal.
But overall, like
Not for nothing.
with McDavid, he was not. He didn't play his normal role because
Right.
McDavid just does what he does, but way better.
Yeah. Do you see Frank Nazar ending up a top 6 forward for Chicago, and do you see him as a center or a winger long term? I would say somewhere second or third line makes sense. It depends on your center depth. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up like a second line winger for Chicago or a third line center. It just depends on who they add and who they draft and who they develop from here. But like, I mean, if you're Chicago and you end up drafting like a Michael Misa, and you've got Connor Bedard, Michael Misa, and like Oliver Moore as your top 3 centers, I think you're laughing. And
Gross.
Nazar can step up and play on the wing and lean a little more offensively. So it gives them a little bit of flexibility. But like, I don't know, Chicago's in a very interesting spot. I'll say that they have a lot to play around with. And I think that they're slowly building a pretty good foundation. So I don't really know. Like, I think he could be a second line guy, but I don't know if he'll be a center at the end of the day. But third line center, yeah, I could see that too. Do you count the fact that some teams in those 5 nations play 4 games in 4 days? The team that is on its 4th game in as many days as you can see it. I mean, yeah, I think I don't spend too much thinking about these tournaments anyway. Like, I mean, my job with Puck Preps was to track one team through the entire tournament, and the US did get better as the tournament went on. But I don't watch those tournaments and go, well, here's where I'm going to change my judgment on all these guys. Like, it's nice to just see things from a different perspective, right? So like for Anton Frondel, for example, it's just nice to see him in an international jersey playing a lot of minutes and like playing a little bit of a lower level of competition than I'm used to seeing him. And just seeing what he can do, sort of stretching things out a little bit. So that's kind of what I pay attention to. Like, but I agree. Like, they do play a lot, and that can affect things, which is why you should be careful about these things. What is Yuri Kulich in the long run? I mean, I didn't think he was going to be this dependent on in Buffalo this fast, but I always thought he was like a middle 6 scoring shooty boy winger. Yeah, his scoring seems to have slowed down a little. Well, he's got 7 points in his last 10, so maybe not. But like, I feel like if Buffalo ever becomes like a contending team, I don't think he's a second line or first line center, but I always felt him to be like a pretty dependable second or third line Swiss Army knife scoring forward, right? Like, he's a really great shooter. I think he's at his best on the power play, but yeah, like, I've seen him on the wing before and he plays pretty well. He could play center, I suppose, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up a winger sort of in the middle 6 or second line for Buffalo at the end of the day. Do you think it's better to have multiple viewings of a prospect to get their full tendencies and understand if they got something valuable in the NHL? Do you think it's better to have multiple viewings of a prospect to get their, as opposed to what? Because yeah, like, that's how you do it. Like, I don't know if there's a second part to that, but yeah, like, you kind of have to see guys multiple times. But they're like, but I mean, to me, once with the work that I do, once I see a guy like 3 or 4 times, I feel and track data on them, I kind of know what to expect. And if anything changes my mind, then that's great. But generally, most players, like, especially after December or January, I kind of have seen them a few times and I'm like, all right, I kind of know what to expect. Here's where kind of things have been getting better. And let's see if it changes my mind. And usually it doesn't. with how weak this Finnish 07 group is, how surprising is it that they've won the last 2 tournaments and played well from what I've heard and seen? Are coaching or player all coaching, or have players been better? It's a very good question. I do not know the answer, but this is what Finland does. I mean, at the Holinka tournament, they were bad. I did not think they looked particularly good against the US. But hey, I mean, they've won. You can't argue with a team that wins. And Finland somehow is a team that finds a way to win. I don't get it. I don't really have a good answer. I thought Sweden kept the game in reach by having a pretty good group of defensemen, breaking up cycles and overall defending. How do you think Finland will do with their defense group? It's going to be a challenge. We'll see them tonight against the States, and that is going to be a tough.
Have fun defending Austin Matthews, and then here comes Jack Hughes.
Yep, here comes Clayton Keller. Here comes Jack Eichel.
Nope.
Here comes
Clayton Keller's not there.
Right. Damn it.
Here comes Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, here comes whoever. Who cares?
Here comes Jonathan Tanner Miller. That's JT Miller. I just like saying his full name because I think it's funny.
Now I'm annoyed that Clayton Keller's not there. I'm annoyed.
You should
who
be.
Cares?
It's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, we don't need to get into that, but that doesn't matter. Kyle Connor, Matt Boldy, Jack Eichel. Good luck. Why do scouts have Ben Kindle ranked so low with his current production? Because he's smaller as a center. He's a little small, and he's not the most physical guy in the world. Like when you watch him, he's not the most like intense in the corners and along the boards and all that. He's more of a supportive guy in those environments. And so they see a center who is like 5'10", 5'11", who isn't the most physical guy in the world, but scores a ton of points, and they go, probably not an NHL player. And if you believe that, fair enough. Any thoughts on Philippe Veilleux and Bill Zonin? I love Bill Zonin. I think Bill Zonin is one of the more projectable guys this year. I don't think he's like a super high upside guy, but he can play in my bottom 6 anytime. Like that guy works his tail off. I think he's a really smart passer up the ice. Like he's kind of like very Tom Brady style, where it's like, yeah, Tom Brady can do the long bombs maybe, but like he's at his most dangerous when it's like 10 yards at a time, just throw after throw after throw. And Zonin is kind of like that. Like he passes the puck a lot, he plays a lot, and he uses his line mates really, really well. And I think Bill Zonin projects really well. He's playing center. He's a big kid. I like what he brings to the table for sure. Veilleux, I mean, I see him every so often, and I just kind of go, I don't know, like where is he going to be on draft day? Like the top guy on my list. I think he's a good junior player. Like I think he'll score a lot of points, but I'm not sure about NHL upside with him. I also haven't like got a tremendous amount of backlog on him, but he's a guy where I've watched a couple of games, and he's just never really like, usually I watch guys and I go, okay, I'm going to take a look at this guy in detail, watch a couple or track a couple of games and see what I see. But like with Veilleux, I just haven't seen that quite yet. But I'll check him out. I'll put him on the list just for you because I haven't seen him in a while, and that's a name that's come up a few times. And I'll check him out. All right, he's there. Have I gone through anybody from Monday that people said? No. In what? Oh, we did that. Will Trevor Zegras ever reach his potential? Yes, just when he's far, far, far away from Greg Cronin.
I would say that with Zegras, he needs a player to help him. He's a complementary player. Like he'll be an elite complementary player if he's to reach his potential. Like I don't think he is the guy.
Every time I see the Ducks, I'm like, this guy is there's still something there.
There
is
there is, but like put him with Leo Carlson and someone else really good.
That's who I would be calling about at the trade deadline this year. Like if I'm someone, I'm like, hey, maybe you give us John Gibson and throw in a Trevor Zegras. You don't want him anyways, right? Maybe you could snag him. I don't know. But he's young and super talented, and Anaheim seems to want to throw him out the window. Who would make the best WWE wrestler in the draft? That's a very good question.
CM Punk.
What?
CM Punk loves hockey. Oh, shit. Excuse me.
Oh no.
Oh,
In the
this
draft,
year.
who would make a great
Right.
wrestler?
I just
mean,
think I just think WWE and hockey, and I think CM Punk because
Yeah.
CM Punk loves hockey.
What do you
Je-
see as making a good WWE wrestler?
Some
Like, what are the factors?
Well, who's the best on the mic? Like we got a good interview too. Like that's an important thing.
Yeah.
So we got to go through like Matthew Schaefer would be great from maybe a
Yeah,
promo
Schaefer would be a
perspective.
good one. Yeah.
But who's like the most athletic guy?
I don't know.
Because it's tough. You don't actually see a lot of the things you would necessarily. Well, there's some things, but you need a guy like guys who are fast can be really fun. Like one of my favorite guys right now is Braun Breaker, and he's just insanely fast. He's the guy that did the spot in the Rumble with I Show Speed, where he speared him really fast, like the guy who ran
Yep.
the ropes.
Oh, I saw that.
That was awesome. I laughed so hard watching that.
Yep.
So
Yep. That was really funny.
So it's kind of tough. Yeah, I actually just don't know who it would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I said that with so much chest, and I just misread the question, and I felt like an idiot afterwards, and then swore. Nice.
Maybe I feel like Carter Bear with the way he plays, where it's like I'm gonna run through you, I'm gonna, just crush you. Maybe that
possible.
I don't know. Cameron Schmidt, maybe just like a little guy who.
But
but
like with WWE guys, they have to
Yeah.
be very like a lot of the times personality is a huge thing. Like in terms of you need presence on the mic.
Kayshawn Aitchison. Someone suggested Kayshawn Aitchison. That could make sense.
Yeah,
Because he came off
but
that
he's-
way kind of in the interview that we did.
yeah, it's possible.
William Bell, 6'4", like 200 plus pounds. He's I don't know. Anyway,
It's just tough. It's a
Shane
really
Van
tough
Sage,
one.
yeah.
It's a really tough one.
Yeah. How often do prospects really improve their skating relative to NHL standards after being drafted? Seems like fans overestimate how easy it is to do. I agree. It's very difficult, I think. I've said this a million times. Like watching guys that I watched when they were 18, 17 years old, and now they're like 22, 23 years old, things don't change that much. Like they kind of stay the same style of player, but just get elevated a little bit. Their things get better. But that's the thing, right? Like everybody gets better. So your style of play is really hard, I think, to fundamentally change, especially really early. And later on in life, or later on in their careers, then they kind of go, okay, like the brain kind of changes a little bit to be like, okay, I'm not a prospect anymore. I am now a player and I want to be in the NHL. So I'm going to talk to my coach and I'm going to go, what do you need from me so I can stay in the lineup? Right. Like, maybe it's not the player I want to be, but what can I become or what can I apply myself to be and be a guy who just like takes orders, takes whatever direction and plays whatever role I can keep. Right. And then you kind of see players changing things up a little bit, right? Like those guys who, like Lars Eller is the one I always go to, where it's like he was this super highly touted offensive kid, really, really high scoring guy everywhere, and then gets to the NHL and, it doesn't really work out in that role, but found a way to become a really good third line guy. And that's what I love to see, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I mean. So that's why you kind of lose me a little bit when it's like, well, think about what the guy could be in 5 years, right? If you have a really young 6'4" lanky kid who just hasn't quite grown into their body, then I have a lot more time for it. A guy like Theo Stockselius comes to mind. But in general, yeah, I don't put a ton of weight into it. Have you seen Spencer Gill this season? No, I have not. I saw him a few times last year and didn't really think much. But yeah, I haven't seen him in a while.
So we're gonna have to start speeding this up, Will.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like older NCAA prospects get much of a look at their NHL club? In the Chicago area, I don't hear talk about Aiden Thompson or Ryan Green, and they seem worth a look. Well, I mean, they don't get talked about, but I mean, they'll come along. I mean, I think Ryan Green has a chance of making it. I don't know about Aiden Thompson, maybe, but like they'll eventually leave school and go to camp. But it's not in vogue, right? Like those guys are second, third, fourth round picks, and they're playing in college for a few years on end. And yeah, kind of like their shiny new toys, right? Like guys that are drafted higher and they're younger and they're playing in a more visible area. Like I don't know, I see why that happens, but yeah, I mean, if you're a prospect nut, form your own opinions. Just go look at them and see what you think and get excited for who you want to get excited about. I'm not a big fan of player comps, but Matthew Schaefer reminds me of Gustav Forsling. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how to tackle that. If you could pluck one drafted prospect and put them in a different organization or development system, who would it be?
Fabian Lysell, get him out of Boston, please.
Yeah, Fabian Lysell, put him in like Seattle, something like that. Or
that sounds very
I don't know.
boring, though.
Yeah, that's a boring answer.
Where would I put Fabian Lysell? Where is he gonna play? That's what I care about. Where is he going to play?
I don't know. It's a really good question.
But definitely.
Oh, I would take Brad Lambert and move him somewhere else.
Why? He's going to play in Winnipeg at some point.
He's so stuck. Like, he's stuck. He's going to play at some point. But, like, every time I see him play with the Jets, I'm like, this guy looks like he belongs here. But they just don't have the room for him. And I feel like his play in the AHL this year is kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I feel like he might be starting to get that, like, where am I going from here thing that's kind of hard to get out of your head. But we'll see. But I'd be very curious. Like, if Brad Lambert were Montreal's pick instead of Philip Machar, where would he be in Montreal's lineup, right? Like, I think that he would be a pretty interesting player there. But anyway, what teams do you think would select Higgins over Misa? Nashville? Maybe, but I don't think so. I don't know. I find it a very difficult argument to have right now at the moment. Yes, I agree. Chill lo-fi beats to scout to. I should make that playlist. I'll probably get more views than I've ever gotten on this channel ever.
Yes, you will.
It's just a question of how effective a player can be at even strength, given his smaller frame and strange skating stride. Oh, that's from the Hockey Writers thing. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I've got a feeling Misa goes to Nashville makes so much sense. Yeah, Misa and Stiga together would be awesome. You don't got to twist my arm. You don't got to twist my arm at all. I would do that. Chair, keyboard, screen height, all important for the thing. Yeah, that's the desk setup thing. Yep, definitely agreed, 100%. It's
Yep.
I've spent a lot of time on that. It's been said that this player would have been drafted if they were a few inches taller. Has there ever been a case where someone would have been drafted higher if they were shorter? No, I don't think ever.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. No. I wonder if Marcus Nordmark's NHL upside is higher than Viggo Bjork, and if Hermanson or Nordmark is going to get a shot. I like Nordmark and Hermanson a lot too. I still am not sold on Bjork. I think he's really good, but I think people talk about him like he's like super, super high end, and I'm not so sure about that. Hermanson did look pretty good at the Five Nations, though, I will say. I mean, so did Bjork, but Hermanson too.
Ah, yes, totally. I'm biased Steel fan. Nylander is an Alberta-born player, though. Good Canadian boy. Yes, a good Canadian boy who renounced who basically renounced his citizenship. That was like, nah, I hate that I was born in Calgary. I'm Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
Good Canadian boy.
Yeah. It does feel like Klingsell becomes a three tiers better every time he dons the blue and yellow. He does, I think. But also, yeah, I think he does benefit from playing with guys like Stenberg, like you said. Super skilled, and I think in the offensive zone he's really creative and clever, but I don't know if it's enough. I don't think I don't know. I have a lot of doubts, and watching him, and he's gonna be in Skellefteå colors for a while probably, and it might be a struggle. I see a lot of Norwegians in the Swedish junior leagues. Yeah, I mean, Norway has been kind of like slowly cutting a lot of trimming the fat, so to speak, in their programs over there. So Norwegian high-end players will leave. But there are good ones. I just did a game of Tinas Koblar today, and he was really good again. I think for a guy who's unranked by Central Scouting, I think there's an interesting player there. Oliver's Mernieks. Yeah, Mernieks is another one. I don't know about top 10 next year, but he has been very good with Sioux City this year when I've seen him. I'm on the Colin Potter train after finding this channel. Yeah. Hey, I mean, I love Colin Potter. I think everybody's still kind of sleeping on him. I love him. 2
new trains for you, this channel and Colin Potter, and we thank you for joining.
New trains. Yeah, we love trains here. We're big fans of trains. Sam. Who's Sam? Are you a Hobbit? Is Sam? Are we talking Sam McGilligan?
Are we? I feel like Sam this could also accidentally be me too.
Oh, well, you're not Hobbit size.
No,
You're more.
I'm actually taller than the average by an inch.
Right. You just look like you're small because
No, I don't even
100
look.
pounds.
I don't even look like I'm small. I look. People always tell me that they think I'm 6 feet because I'm so skinny.
You've got you've got the Mr. Mackey body. You're Mr. Mackey.
Okay.
That's what you're.
I'm 5'10". Okay.
Okay. Oh,
I will not have any accusations of me being hobbit-sized. Okay.
drugs are bad. Okay. Okay. Saganow's last 2 games with Misa on the ice 11-4, with him off the ice 7-7. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, Misa's friggin' sick. Was the goalie article written recently? Yeah, I think it was out yesterday. Something like that. How should one go about comparing Nesbitt, Beam, and Guard? They're all mid. I mean, I think Beam is the smartest of the 3, like best moving the puck. I think Guard is the best skater, and I think Nesbitt is the strongest out of them. But I'm not the most interested in all 3. Oliver Moore is improving. I hope so. I mean, the game I saw, I thought he was really good. I don't know. I still really believe in him. I thought he was really good at the World Juniors.
Yep.
I thought he's been really good with Minnesota, and yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, check out our video room with Oliver Moore. So Will just goes in and breaks down a full game of Oliver Moore.
Yep.
And just highlights the stuff that he thought was interesting and important. So go check that out.
Twitter is so toxic. Oh god, don't even get me started. I barely use it anymore. If you're on, I don't know, just don't use it. Like,
Will's skies are more blue now.
Yeah, my skies are more blue. I'm dropping skeets like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, it's a good time. That's what they're calling it, right? Blue sky posts, skeets.
Is that what they're called?
I don't know. They should be though. Blue sky like they're tweets, but on blue sky. So they're like, what are you gonna call them? Like bleats? No, that's lame. Skeets is way better.
Bubble thoughts.
Yeah, bubble thoughts. Yeah, and I agree. Like, I mean, I don't know. People just talk and yap on Twitter, and you better. I mean, it's way better to just yap on the internet. You know, you better to just yap on camera, because then people actually get the nuance behind your yapping, and they can then dismiss you as a gigantic idiot, if that's what you are. Not saying that you are, but a lot of people on Twitter, if you saw them,
your Twitter mentions are filled with, well, your producer's dumb.
Yeah, pretty much. No, but I will say, with a lot of the discourse going on in the world right now, I just love to imagine when people write some of the things they put online. I imagine, what if this person came up to me in the lineup at No Frills in the grocery store, tapped me on the shoulder, and said what they wrote there? What would my brain think? Would I go, that makes me think, or would I go, what are you doing, you psycho? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, okay.
Which No Frills was it? The one that Sam thought had the name.
Was it Michael's? No, Michael's is no.
Anyway.
I forget, but anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, let's finish this off. Thoughts on Merrick Vanacker and Nick Lardis? I think we're gonna do a Nick Lardis video room soon. But I don't know. I haven't seen those guys in a long time. Nick Lardis, shoot puck hard and score goal though. Václav Nestrasil, any thoughts on him? Definitely a high ceiling, super lanky, tall, really good skater for his size. I don't really know what he is, but he can be pretty well rounded, I guess. Like, I would not be surprised to see him get called in the first round, but I maybe wouldn't do it, but he's not far behind that for me. Thoughts on Cole Cheeseman? Other than having the best name in the draft, I don't know. So I'll check him out, but I believe the Academy of Holy Angels, like, you might be posting this because he's got 61 points in 19 games. I believe the Academy of Holy Angels is a Class A team in Minnesota, not Double A, and Class A is not great. So, and I think Holy Angels is often like one of the better teams in that level. I could be wrong. I could be mixing them up. There's like 1 billion Minnesota high school hockey teams. But I'll check them out because it's a great name and an intriguing data profile.
What about AEW though? It's still wrestling. It's still wrestling. And a lot of them, like, it's hard to evaluate who would make the best wrestler because I'm never going to see a guy flip on skates. And there's, like, a lot of the guys that come in, a lot of the guys and girls that come in now, like, they have that ability too. Like, they bring in, like, gymnasts and they bring in college athletes now. in their training center. So it's tough. And then hockey players have the opposite feeling. Or the opposite, not feeling, but they have like they're told to do the opposite when they're on camera. They're supposed to be plain and boring, all right? So it's hard. It's really hard to like actually pick out, oh, who would make a great wrestler, because wrestlers are supposed to be crazy and say wild things and like really invoke strong emotions. Hockey players are just supposed to be very bland.
Sorry, I got a notification on my watch just now before the show ends that a kayaker in Chile got swallowed by a whale
Oh boy.
and spat out. He lived,
Oh,
and it's on video. And this is a man getting eaten by a whale and then bobbing right back out of the water almost immediately. That is
wild.
one of the craziest things I think I've ever read and seen. I don't know. That's that eaten by a whale and survived. Crazy. Anyway, let's finish this off. What are your thoughts on Lars Steiner and Jonah Neuenschwander? They're good players. I'm holding my tongue until I see more of them. But Steiner, I feel like playing with Bill Zonin helps him out a lot. They complement each other really well. And Neuenschwander was fine for Switzerland at the U18s. I don't know if it speaks to the general anxiety in Hawks fans, but I feel like we've asked you about all of our yeah, well, this is pretty common. Hawks fans are often asking about all their guys. And I'm on the record with liking a lot of the guys the Hawks draft, right? Like, so yeah.
Yeah, we'll even put out a prospect pyramid and a review of their draft class this year. So there's 2 videos that you can go check out.
There's lots to love.
Yep.
Go Hawks go, right? What would your guys' wrestling names be? Oh god.
I have no clue.
I don't know. The Cookie Monster, because I love cookies, and
oh boy, you wouldn't be able to get that trademarked.
Probably not. Well, PBS might be able to give it up. Anyway,
I have no clue. I'll think about it and get back to you.
Yeah. Something that has to do with your Italian/Jewish heritage, maybe. Like, I don't know, something there. I'm boring. There's not much I can really play off of for me.
No.
Dorkosaurus.
There was a guy who was the Funkasaurus Brodus Clay at one point, and he had to like dance.
I can't do that. You don't want to see that.
No.
So, yeah. Anyway. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be joined by Tony Ferrari. We're going to talk about hockey with him. Probably talk about the Four Nations as it comes to a close, I think, next Wednesday, or Tuesday. Anyway, it's going to be a good time. We're looking forward to having him. It's always fun having Mr. Ferrari on the show. And we'll see you Monday night. And I don't think there's much else going on. Again, I'll just put all of our ads in the chat here. We got Fanatics and we got Puck Preps, and you can subscribe to Scouching.ca. Give us a hand over there. All kinds of fun stuff you can check out with all of those links. So thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you Monday night.
And go Leafs go. We'll see ya.